Hello, welcome back to Leicester Fan TV. This is the Fox's Focus show where we're discussing all things Leicester. I've got Simon joining me tonight. Good evening, Simon.
Good evening, Jono. How are you, sir?
Not too bad, not too bad yourself.
Okay, mate. For an international break, I'm doing all right.
Yeah, I think as all Leicester fans, we're very relieved it's a international break because we can both agree that on the Leicester point, it's been absolutely horrific, even with the last few games of getting some points.
Yeah. Well, we beat Norwich, didn't we, last time out? And it didn't look like it. With 10 minutes to go, we were going to get anything. I thought Norwich played some quite good football in spells, to be fair, and so did Leicester. But when we went down, you just thought, oh, here we go. Is this just going to go? And we're going to fold. But somehow we managed to conjure up that late Jordan James goal. That good, decent header, first header apparently he'd ever scored in his career as well. So that comes out of nowhere, and we smashed 3 points. And I would suspect that it probably saves Cifuentes from an international break dismissal.
I mean, I saw Norris score, and I just turned it off because I just thought, yeah, he's gone. I put a few comments in the chat saying I think he should go, but after last weekend, I've had a time to think, but I don't know if he should even go. I don't know I don't know what could happen to fix the problems. There's just so much negativity everywhere.
There is, Jono, isn't there? And I don't know. I don't know if the manager's a problem. I think he's certainly tried his best. It looked promising in those few weeks he had before the season started, and as the season's gone on, it just seems to slowly drifted back to where we were last season, piece by piece. And I'm sure he's as confused and scratching his head about that as the rest of us, because it certainly didn't look that way as the season started. And I just don't. I don't know how we end up back here again, kind of talking about the same things almost at the same time of last season, this season again.
I mean, if you go back to since Brendan Rodgers, every manager we've had has played the exact same style, has had a philosophy coming in, then slowly end up the exact same style of football, and we all moan, then they get sacked. The football we saw in pre-season with Marty, even after a few weeks, was like, oh my god, like this is exciting stuff. This is nothing like the football we've experienced watching at the beginning of the season. Yes, it was a bit iffy against Sheffield Wednesday and stuff like that, but we still was still exciting football. But now it's just dull. So, is it the owners or the board making Marty play this style of football? Because there's no the transition of style of football from. I mean, I saw wingers hoofing it to the wingers, wing backs to the wingers every time. That doesn't happen anymore. So I don't know if it's the board convincing him to play their own style of football, or I don't know.
There's certainly rumours that go around that the owner likes this whole Guardiola-esque type of football, but I can't believe at the distance between the owner largely most of the time in the club that he's dictating what Cifuentes is doing. I think it's these players for me, John. I think they're just reverting to type, and there must be times when Cifuentes has stood on the touchline wondering what they're doing and what how things have evolved on the pitch is probably nothing like what he tried to get them to do before the game commenced. But it's just like they seem to revert to this style, this attitude, this output, which is just below standard. And whilst sometimes you'll see him raise the game, largely it's difficult to concentrate and watch for me. I don't know about you. Sometimes I watch the games and I kind of look at myself and I'm zoning out, like I'm not concentrating on it because it's so dull.
It is really dull, and I think the most frustrating thing for me is that I know we can play much better. I've seen this group of players play really good football, and I'm like, yes, it's okay to be inconsistent. Like, look at Liverpool; they were one of the best teams in Europe last season. All of a sudden, they're playing crap. It's okay to have that dip in form. However, we know these players have played really good football, but they're so inconsistent. I'm like, is it because they're getting their paycheck? I mean, Dakar's played over 1,000 minutes and scored not a goal since December last year. That's horrific for a striker.
Well, it's not. I mean, yeah, I agree, but none of the rest are doing any better, are they? Let's be honest. I mean, we've got a whole suite of strikers there that are firing blanks, and the supply to them's no better, which isn't helping. It's not like you're watching Daka or Carranza and they're getting 20 chances and they're putting them in the stand. They're not getting them chances, Jono.
Mm. But before you got something about a striker, but before we talk about that, I'll bring up some comments. Yes, it's red, but as you can see, it's not florist, so don't worry about that. Even though it's my other mate I know from other socials, so good evening. Missed out on Bamford. I mean, to be honest, no matter what striker we got, it was not good enough. A lot of people calling it El Sakiko because I reckon any team that lost that game was going to get sacked. The football is, as everyone can agree, is dull and boring. It's very, it's just boring. No energy, no fast-paced footballs were promised in pre-season. And I'm going to read some stats from the last 4 games. So before I read it out, I want everyone to guess out of our last 4 games total how many shots on target we've had on goal. So that's everyone's challenge. But yeah, I mean, possession-wise, against Hull, we had 63% possession. Blackburn, we had 63. And at Norwich, we had 65. And at Middlesbrough, we had the less one. But I don't know how we can have so much possession, but have so little chances.
Well, Bo Collect Coins has just popped on. Look, evening to you, mate. He said 9, Jono. So put us out of our misery. Tell us how many shots we had on target in those games.
Well, against Hull, Blackburn, and Middlesbrough, we had a grand total of 5. We had 7 against Norwich, but they are the bottom of the championship, so that's not surprising. But 5 against 3 teams with over 60% possession. I mean, that is horrific. What do we do with the ball? Do you have a picnic? Do we just sit down and play, patty cake? What are we doing?
Well, you know what we're doing, Jono? We're tapping it between the 2 centre halves, the fullbacks, and the keeper for a lot of it. I don't get it. I don't get this whole style of football. I'm aware the manager likes it. The owner likes it, and he keeps hiring these managers but that's not what Cifuentes told us we were going to get at the start of the season. He told us we were going to get aggressive, attacking, pressing football. It's not how it's turned out, and I don't know why.
But we've seen it. We've seen his football. We saw it against Fiorentina, which we played really well. We looked like bloody good. I'm thinking if we play like this in the Championship, we're going to get promoted. Where's that? It's gone. There's no resemblance of this football to football what it was 12 games ago.
No, and there's lots of players now within the first team squad that look like they're struggling with confidence and form. Like Mavididi, completely missing this year. Fatawi, for me, he's not been at his best. Certainly in the last 5 or 6 games, he's not been at his best. And has looked a little bit, whilst he's clearly trying his best, he's looked a bit of a kind of nullified threat. James has done okay, and there are pockets where things are better, but there's a lot of players in that team at the minute that are not producing their best performances as well, which is another enigma.
I can't think of a player. I mean, the only player that I think has played well for a lot of the season is Fataru until the last 3 or 4 games where he's dropped off the form. But there's not been that one player, outstanding player. For James is the only player which I feel is the only player has actually tried and been consistent throughout the whole season. And he's a lone player. He's not even our player. So that says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
On,
I mean, without James, and I mean, let's not forget, off the bench, Jono, Cordova Reid a couple of 3 times this season has been very influential, like he was against Norwich, and he's starting to remind me of players gone by that seem to have that more of an impact from the bench than they do from a starting position. Damari Gray was like that. If you remember him a few years back, he'd come off the bench.
Cardiff, didn't he?
Yeah, he'd do more from the bench than he would when he was given a start, and he feels a bit like that. Cordova Reid, and he kind of bailed us out on.
With too many players, like look at Chowdhury. He's really good when he comes off the bench, but he's not very good when he starts.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's all perplexing, isn't it? But it's not. It doesn't feel right to me. It feels off, and the way they're playing, I can't believe that's what Cifuentes is asking them to do. There's some disconnect there. It's not right. And that Norwich game, Jono, for me, does not paper over the cracks of it. Yes, we
It
got
doesn't.
3 points, but the spotlight's right back on as soon as this international breaks over and we go back into action again. Things have to turn the corner here, and we have to put the last few weeks behind us, or Cifuentes is going to come under pressure again very, very quickly.
I mean, we're going against Stoke, which are one of the top teams in the Championship this season, alongside Coventry and Middlesbrough. Just a little side thought: how on earth did who left Middlesbrough for Wolves? Who got his name?
Rob Edwards.
Yeah. Why would you leave Middlesbrough? Is he dumb? That is the worst manager move I've ever seen.
I mean, the only mitigating factor, John, is I think he played quite a lot of games for Wolves as a player, so I think there's a connection there historically for Edwards with that club, Wolves. That is,
Yeah,
but you're right. I mean, he's not. Let's be honest. It's highly unlikely, given Wolves' results so far this season, he's going to bail them out of the bottom three. So he was in the box seat with an automatic promotion fighting team in the Championship, and he's probably swapped that for a more difficult job. Yeah, and a more difficult job in the Championship next year, because the Wolves have been drained of their best players over the last couple of seasons, which is why they're struggling.
Yeah. So go on. Simon mentioned a player bomb to me in the before we came alive, and I didn't know how to respond to it, so I thought I'll let him just announce it here, and I want to get everyone's opinion regarding this tactical insight that Simon has. Because of course, Simon, what is your tactical insight?
Okay,
how we should progress?
Let me share my tactical insanity with the viewers and yourself this evening. Please forgive me, everybody, but right, striker wise, nothing happening. All right, we know the supply isn't the best, but Marty keeps changing the striker almost on a weekly basis, and they're not doing anything. Let's face it, they're not scoring, as you alluded to. Daka's not scored for about 3 years, so it's not good. So here's my idea: we put Vestergaard up front. Right, we go away with the strikers. Right, you've all had a go. It's not happening. We put Vestergaard up front. We start throwing the ball up to him, and we get D. Cordova-Reid, Jordan James, and Abdul Fattawi around him to feed off the scraps. What do you all think of that?
My only concern to that is, to be honest, Vestergaard has scored more goals than Daka this season, which is hilarious. But as you mentioned too, one thing we're going to pick up on is our injuries. Ben Nelson, Okoli, Christensen are out. So if you put Vestergaard up front and have who would you have it back? Well, Faz and
Well, I mean, there's a question, because we think Ben Nelson's out for a while. We don't know, because the club haven't said anything, but he's got an ankle injury and they've said it's serious. So that tells me he's not back next week. So he's out. Okoli, we're not sure. We're not sure, but it could be minor. We've still got Faz as well. So there's a couple of lads there. I know it's a bad time because, as you just alluded to, we've just potentially lost one, maybe two centre-backs from the squad for injury. However, as Glenn's saying here, and let's get him up, because this is where partly Rye's idea came from. We used to send Walshy up front. Absolutely. Evening to you, Glenn. That's absolutely true. We did when times were needed. Matty Elliott and Steve Walsh used to go up front, and they used to do a job for us. And right now, we need someone to do a job for us. And I'm not saying that a centre-back's going to score 20 goals. I'm not saying that. But if we get him up there and the ball can stick, it gives us an outlet. It allows us to release pressure, offer the defence when we need to. And if he can get the ball to stick and feed that off to players that are looking like scoring, the other one, obvious one in all of this was Ramsey, but I don't think we're going to see Ramsey again this season. I hope I'm wrong, but he just disappeared, didn't he? And they're not saying anything now. So there's every chance he's gone back to Burnley for treatment if it's a long-term injury. So got to write him off. But there are players that are knocking goals in here and there, but they're largely midfielders or attacking midfielders. Get someone up there to hold the ball up, feed it out, and let's get some shots going in on goal.
But why don't we try an outfield player? That's what was Monga there, or Mavididi?
What, up front?
Well,
I mean, sorry, mate. Someone else has just mentioned Gary again. Is saying give Mav a chance up top, so he's backing you up there. He's had a few, hasn't he, this season? He's had a few one-on-ones with the keeper and blasted them straight at the keeper. He had that header. Who was that header? Was it against Middlesbrough recently? And he headed it back across the box rather than heading at goal. He looks a lad out of form to me. I'm not sure that we want to give him the responsibility of scoring the goals at the minute. He's doubtful for his own normal position down the left at the minute because of his form. For me, I'm not seeing that. I think we need to go back to basics. And ultimately, we can't go and get a striker in, albeit, as someone alluded to earlier, as you brought the comment up, we could have had Patrick Bamford on a free because he was a free agent, but he's gone to Sheffield United. I don't understand why we've not done that business, for me, Jono, because he is a proven... Well, he's a proven striker in the Championship. And whilst he's got a bad history of injuries, the other side of that is right now we need something up there to give us something, and we haven't got anything. So until January at least, we're now stuffed. So we need to think out the box for me as to try and get some goals, because if this club has got an ambition of fighting for promotion with the level of goals and, as you alluded to, chances we're creating, we're a lower mid-table side.
We're not getting promoted this year.
No chance. No chance.
Even if we do improve, we're not getting promoted. I think the teams who are fighting for promotion are much more, not just the players, but the club is so much more. It's just the club just run better. Coventry is so united. That's Coventry at the moment is what we were like between 2015 and 2019 or 2021, and that's gone. The whole club is rotten. The players are just not playing for the club. The fans, we had the incident against Middlesbrough. Was it Norwich against Middlesbrough where we don't condone this? There was racial abuse against the owners and death threats against Rudkin, not condoned. So that makes our protest pretty null and void, really, because they'll just go, oh well, they're just doing it to be racist or anything like that. So
it was an own goal, wasn't it, Jono? It was an own goal because I think everyone's tensions, passions are riding high. We're having to come to terms with, for the first time in a long time, looking adrift in the Championship. We haven't seen that for years at Leicester, and it's a bitter pill to swallow after so many years of being a much better club than that. And people are angry and upset and frustrated with the situation, and they can see mismanagement within the club that's led us to this place. And I think we all agree with that there's been some bad decisions made, bad acquisitions, etc. But it's an own goal then to go that far and just allow the club then just to go, well, you're just being discriminatory. And it allows the argument to be completely taken away from the fans just because they've overstepped the mark. And we need to be cuter as a fan base if we want to challenge the board and the management of the club. We need to stay within the boundaries and be cuter how we do it than resort to that, and then just allows them just to go, well, you're just being nasty.
Well, look at Sheffield Wednesday. They've gone into administration. They're minus 6 points, and I've never seen a club so united in my life. As soon as they went into administration, all the fans bought all the shirts, made almost £500,000 already. They've been every game's full. The fans are chanting even when they're losing. They're just chanting, and that just shows that the fans are all together. But when we had that protest last season against Rudkin, only about less than 1,000 people turned up, so we can't even bloody protest properly, let alone. So protesting is pointless. Everything's just. The disconnect between the club and the fans is just, I've never seen anything like this in my life of supporting Leicester.
Oh, I don't know. We've had some dark times in the past.
Yeah, but I'm not
They
as old
go,
as you, so it's fine.
no, that's true. For your era and your generation, you won't have. But you go back to when Lineker and Heskey bailed the club out, and it was about to go under. You go back to them days. We've had some dark times before, but it's I don't know, John. It if it's as bad as that, if we're talking about owner change to start to turn this around, then we're going to have to all be patient as a fan base, because even if that does come about, it's not going to come back in a couple of weeks. And then after that, let's not forget that I think we all agree that we've ended up with a nucleus of players that either don't want to be at the club or don't want
That
to
will end
produce
next year.
or don't want to produce the performances for the club for whatever reason. You can't reinvent a squad in a season or two. That takes a number of transfer windows to turn that back round. So this isn't a 5-minute fix if that's how deep it is, and I kind of fear it might be, because this lot they're on their third manager, this lot, in a year, and things look very similar to what they did a year ago.
This is why when everyone's saying, "Oh, I mean," I did say it in fan chats, let Marty out. After the game, I was thinking, what's the point? Because what will happen is we'll get the propaganda saying, "Oh, here's a new manager. I will play this style of football," and then it'll just be the exact same football we've seen for the last 3 years. And then we'll get sacked, and then we'll start again. The only factor in all of this since winning the league, well, since the effort, I think also going the day I think the Leicester I knew turned to this one is when we lost against Forest in the FA Cup. Ever since then, we've been slowly going downhill. Ever since then, it's not looked the same since.
I mean, difficult, isn't it, as an outsider looking in, to try and pinpoint exactly where this came about. For me, it was that tragic day when Vichai got killed in that helicopter crash. I think that was the moment that this chain of events started to unravel. Brendan Rodgers was there. He was allowed then to start buying what he classed as ready-made players, your Dakas, your Samares, etc., for big transfer fees. When we hadn't done that previously, we'd always look for unknown talent and tried to develop it. And the whole philosophy of the club changed. And Daka, etc., turned out to be the players that I'm sure they thought they'd be. We probably wouldn't be sat here having this conversation now, because we'd have a goal scorer and these players would be contributing, but they haven't done. And that is really the inception of the slide, because we're stuck with these players. We can't go out and just buy more and leave them sat rotting because of PSR. And let's not forget that, Jono, that, as I said earlier, this group of players have largely been through 2 relegations. They've also been through two rounds of points deductions hanging over us as well. And however Cifuentes and the club try to play that down, it must be in the back of their minds. And I'm not making excuses for them, because they're professionals and they're getting paid to do a job. However, the atmosphere around the club for me, has been cloudy for a while, and that isn't helping for me. Isn't helping the situation.
Well, if things keep going as bad as they are, we are only 2 points ahead of the relegation zone, which is Sheffield United, with a 9-point. That's an estimated 9-point deduction. So if you add that into the mix, we all could be in a relegation battle to not go into League One. If we go into League One, that is it. There'll be anarchy if we go to anywhere near League One. So the players better get their act together in the next week, because we could literally face another relegation if we get a points deduction.
But the last reset when we were on our backside, we had to go through a season in League One. And the only good thing that came about from that, apart from the fact that we won it, and it was it was quite an enjoyable season to watch, because we beat most of the teams. But that aside, it allowed them to cleanse the squad, because the likes of Wout Faz. I mean, I'm not singling players out here, but you start thinking about some of the players at the club that we all kind of agree aren't really giving performances that we're particularly doing cartwheels over, there's quite a few of them. They won't hang around in League One, and it will clean it out. And you could look at it the other way, and I'm playing devil's advocate to what you just said. You know, actually that might cleanse it, and we might need that cleanse to start again, because if we're languishing in the mid-table of the Championship, then you could argue we can keep affording to pay some of these players' wages for a while, and I'm not sure that's doing us any good long term, if I'm honest.
Well, the only good thing is I see that Samare, Daka, Worldfad, players like that have only got 1 year left, and they're gone after this season. They're done. So we're lucky. We're lucky for the fact that that a lot of this deadwood we've been having for the past 2-3 years, where we've been through 2 relegations, will be disappearing. And for this season, just don't get relegated. Reset. So I want an actual. This summer has been actual. I don't want just 1 or 2 players. I want an actual rebuild. Whole rebuild. I want 90% of the players gone. All I want to keep is Monga, Fatawu, Nelson,
Stolarczyk. Jordan James is on a loan to buy at the end of the season. I would suggest we should snap him up. He's been good.
Yep. That's pretty much it. Mavididi, maybe, if he picks up form.
Maybe. I agree. I mean, Winks' contract's up this summer as well, I believe.
No, he's too much of an attitude problem. No.
Vestergaard's still under contract for another 2 years, I think, come this summer.
Can't wait for him to go.
Well, they signed him on a new contract, didn't they? Last season, 3 years. So he's about for a bit. Oh, he'll enter his last year of his contract next season, won't he?
Yeah.
What about Luke Thomas, Jono?
There's a player in him. Yeah, he's just had a new contract. There's a player in him. Definitely.
I agree with you. I think he's had a rum deal of it this year, and he's lost a bit of confidence. But he's an honest, decent lad, and I think he can do a job.
Absolutely. Oh well, I think we've talked enough rubbish for half an hour. We can't talk about rubbish for much longer.
We fielded an international break honourably.
Yes,
John, it's never easy when there's not much football to talk about. But let's get the battering ram up front. We can get him some armour, get him up there, some Viking gear, and let's get him in
tape to keep the ball to him.
Maybe a Velcro shirt. That's a shout.
Yes,
and let's just let's try something different. For me, I know it won't happen, but for me, the way we're going, the season's going down the toilet. Let's try something different.
Absolutely. I don't think we'll do the show next week because we'll literally be talking about the same drivel. So, the Thursday after we play Stoke and hopefully not lose, which probably will happen, but the week after we played Stoke, I think we'll be back for Thursday night. We'll still have Jamie's show on Sunday. We'll have Phil's show on Monday, but I think we'll return after the Stoke game. Was that a correct assumption?
Let's see if anything happens. If anything happens of any note between now and then, I think we need to pop on and have a chat. But
go on then. Yeah, if no manager is sacked, if anything happens, we won't be here next Thursday. But if anything happens, we'll be here. But cheers, Simon, for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jono. Nice to see you, mate, as always.
Thank you all for all your comments. Don't forget to follow us on all our socials, like and subscribe to Leicester Fan TV. Thank you so much all for watching, and we'll see you again soon.
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Fox's Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV and make sure to follow us on all socials.